I can't hear.
We're all muted. Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay. During the meeting, for those who aren't talking, need to be muted because this is televised. And so when you want to speak, just unmute.
I'd like to verify that I'm not producing a lot of background noise. Can everyone hear me loud and clear?
Yes.
The meeting's now live on home TV, so you guys are welcome to take over at your leisure.
Did you want me to get started, Luann? Or are we waiting for Mary?
Let's see. Amanda is on. I'm not sure if Amanda still wants to run the meeting.
Nope, that's okay. Amy can run the meeting.
Okay, that would be great. I think we can get started, and hopefully Mary joins us soon.
Okay. Well, hello everybody and welcome. I will go ahead and call the meeting to order at noon exactly. We're getting started on time. I think the next thing we do is roll call. Do you read the names, Luann?
I can. Commissioner Stevens. Commissioner McDonald.
Here.
Chair Lick.
Here.
Vice Chair Antwerp.
Here.
And Commissioner Nardo Ferris is not here at this time. Looks like we do have a quorum. Ready to move on.
All right, approval of the December 8th agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll approve.
Okay, it looks like Mike will second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. All right, moving on to presentations. It looks like we have two different presentations from INGHAM County. There isn't a name on the agenda, so I wasn't sure who is giving the presentation.
Well, it is Kelly from the Ingham County Road Department, but I do not see him on our Zoom at this point. But
Okay,
what
maybe,
I can, pardon?
I was just gonna say that maybe he's having some technical difficulties.
He may, but if you don't mind, I can introduce this topic. And as you know, the Okemos Road Bridge Replacement Project is taking place, and it's adjacent to WONCH Park and Ferguson Park on Okemos Road near Mount Hope. And during their engineering evaluation, they found that maybe based on the new bridge going in, that our entry sidewalk into the park needs to be repaved. And so the Park Commission needs to provide approval for that, so it meets the proper ADA grade. And that we do not feel there will be any adverse effects to the park for this work being done. And I think this is a pretty clear-cut suggestion, recommendation, but they just need a vote from the Park Commission to move forward. I can draft a letter from the commission. I'll have Chair Lick sign that on behalf of you folks. And it provides them an opportunity to move forward with making amendments in the park. And as you know, because there were federal and state funds utilized in that park, that any work to be done cannot have negative impacts to the park in any way. And so that's what they're looking at doing, is correcting our entry drive into the park, and that there will be no adverse effects to the park based on this work being requested.
Mark?
And the only question I had, I posed to you, Luann, about, I know that there's 4 steps that go to the restroom that's there that comes from the park to the restroom. I think there's 4, they're long steps. And I just wondered if those would be removed and made ADA compliant. I know there's kind of a little ramp that goes to the bathroom. I didn't know if there was going to be a refigure and just get rid of that ramp to the bathroom and keep those stairs or not keep the stairs. That's my only question with it. If they're willing to do some work, could we have them all incorporated into one ramp? Or
Right, you know, and that's one of the reasons I wanted Kelly Jones, who was supposed to be here.
Hey, Luann,
Yes.
I actually am here.
Oh,
This is Kelly Jones.
Kelly, excellent. You know, I
Yes.
made the mistake of forwarding the credentials. They were my personal credentials and not for everyone. So there's a lot of Luann Mazers, I think, showing up on the screen.
Oh,
Anyway, Kelly, would you like to move forward? I don't know, and explain the project and maybe answer some questions that the commissioners may have.
yeah, sure, absolutely. As Luann very well described, this project is going to have some impacts to the park driveway and the sidewalk that is on the bridge side of your restroom. So currently, the way that the road profile and the existing sidewalk would meet up, it would not meet current ADA standards. So we needed to do a switchback in that sidewalk to provide the proper level landings and slopes to tie it in properly. So I don't know if, Luann, if you provided everyone the letter and the attachment drawing, but if you do look at that drawing, there is a cyan colored blue line work with some speckles in it. That is the new sidewalk that we're proposing. And it ties back into the sidewalk to the restroom within the road right of way, but there's a section that enters the park property outside of that right of way for the switchback. So those are the limits of what we're proposing for sidewalk work. So it's very limited. We're not doing anything to, I believe where your steps are, that your one commissioner, I'm sorry, I didn't see who asked the question. But I think the steps that he was referring to are on the east side of that restroom. And we're not proposing to go that far into the park property. And if we do go that far into the park property to do works in those sidewalk steps, I think that does become outside of our ability to work in the park. So I don't think that we can do it as part of the bridge project, but if you would like to try to coordinate something with the contractor while they're out there, or, you know, helping you achieve that work to be done at the same time for cost savings, I'm not opposed to that. We just can't have that work interfere with the bridge schedule. So if that work's done outside of, you know, maybe on a weekend or outside of regular working hours, we would be fine with that, but we can't include it in our project.
Mike, did you have a question?
Hi, Kelly. I don't know that we've met before. This is Mike.
Hi.
First of all, for the record, since we're going to do this by a letter, just for the record, apart from the letter, I can't say how pleased I am to see another step along the way to getting that pedestrian underpass. So that is a big deal to all of us. And I think Mark, with all the work he does with the kids and the salmon, that is a major, even if it's not swamped with people every day, it's just a major thing. Secondly, in the letter that would go out from Chair Amanda, most of the staff on the commission know what I used to do, which is grants. I just would like us, Luann and Amanda, to reiterate that Ingham County Road Commission is pledging to comply with all the requirements of Section 4F of the Highway Act and 6F of the Land and Water Act.
Yes, absolutely. That's why we're going through this. Initial phase of the project was an EA, but it was determined through that process that there were no significant impacts to the parks or to historic properties other than the removal of the bridge. But we were able to move this from an official federal undertaking to, in the EA process, to become a categorical exclusion. So that process is not quite finished because of this little sidewalk switchback that we're needing to do in the park to make sure we're ADA compliant where we're tying the park. But as soon as we get the park commission's support, we're going to submit that final report to close out this exclusion phase.
And I saw a park supporter, and sorry about not remembering names and locations even, because it was probably in the last couple of days than 30 years ago. But this person was extremely complimentary, Mark, to us and the bridge replacement. And he talked to someone he knew that was retired from Corps, maybe, that voluntarily goes and searches for mussels, MUSSEL. Do you know, Kelly, if there's any requirements regarding mussels relocation or whatever? This is not a question really from me, it's from that fellow.
Yeah, we are having this river surveyed for mussels. It has to be done within a certain amount of time before the construction actually occurs to make sure that no new mussels migrate into the area, to make sure we have everything relocated that needs to be, if anything is found. But yes, that is planned to occur.
Great, and I'm going to mute myself. But Mark, this resonates okay with you?
We can't hear you, Mark. Unmute.
It does. I don't know how much work is going to be in the river or along the edges of the river, there anyway, how much impact it'll have on it. But I'm glad that they're looking at, some of that substrate that's there and doing a search. So.
Great. Are there any other questions for Kelly or for other commissioners?
I do have this on for action later in the meeting.
Okay. Thank you. I was about to jump to that. Kelly, do you have, thank you for making time to talk to us today. Is there any other information you want to share before we move to the next agenda item?
I guess I could share the schedule with you guys. That usually is something that is
that's
interesting to people. We are planning for 2022 primarily doing the bridge construction portion of the project, but later in 2021 we should be starting with utility relocations, maybe some traffic signal work, just some prep work that we can do in advance. That's going to take some time, but the majority of the bridge project with the road closure and detour work will be occurring in 22. We are planning, that's another area that people are concerned with, is traffic. So we are planning to keep this open to southbound traffic and then detouring the northbound traffic. And access to the parks will be maintained throughout construction. So we're taking accommodation of that in mind as we're going through the design of this project.
Will that be like throughout the whole year, or are you guys gonna try to schedule that in the summer when school's not in session? Or is that even possible?
This is a very large bridges, work around a pedestrian bridge and flip traffic, building the bridge part with. So it's going to take a good chunk of the entire year to
Okay.
do. So I would construction season for this, so it will overlap the school year
All right.
for sure.
I figured that much, but it's good to have that information in our back pocket so we can answer questions to people that have those concerns. All righty. Oh, Mary has a question.
Hi, I just had a question if you had a timetable for the construction, like how many months? I know it depends on when you contract, when it'll start, but do you have an idea of how many months it might take? Kelly.
For the bridge project phase, I believe it's going to be probably around 6 to 8 months of active construction. But we will, like I said, start some early work later 2021 that I'm not including in that time frame. The 6 to 8 months is when Okemos Road will be directly impacted by the bridge construction work. So detour will be in.
Do you have a schedule for when you plan to go out for bid?
We are looking at right now with a schedule of May of 2021, if everything goes to plan.
Those are my questions. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yeah. Hey, Kelly, do you know if there's going to be considerable work in the water there? Like if there's going to be any change of depth near, if they're putting pilings into the river? I haven't seen the actual plan of the bridge or anything. It's going to be suspended across the river. The reason why I'm asking is if there is going to be work along the edge under that bridge, if there would be some way to put in some type of stair system or something that goes into the water so that people could access that. You know, we do considerable amount of work. I know there is some kayak area there, but that kayak area is very muddy and needs some work done on it. And so that people can easily get into the water. But I didn't know if around that bridge, if there's going to be pilings that will, you know, be deep or whatever, if we could get people into the water there with a stair system or something like that. Just a thought, that's all.
Well, the work that we're doing in the water is currently the southbound bridge has some piers that are in the water in the center of the river. Those are going to be removed as part of the project. And the new bridge will not have any structures going into the water. We will be building our abutments, which are the two foundations on each end of the bridge. Those are going to be along the edge of the river. The abutments that are existing on the southbound bridge, because they are built underneath of the current pedestrian bridge. So we're incorporating those existing abutments into our new construction. our new abutment, the bridge will be sitting on brand new abutments, but we're going to keep a portion of the existing abutment for stability of that pedestrian bridge. But we're not planning on doing too much work in the water other than removing the existing pier foundations and to construct the new abutments along the stream edge. We're going to also be building the non-motorized underpass along the north bank, under the bridge along the north bank. But because it's in the parks on both sides, the township, we had discussed with them before that they'll have to make the connections from that underpass under the bridge to tie into the sidewalks on either side, because they're going to have to do like a switchback or something. But again, with the 4F and 6F restrictions that we have, we can't build new into the park. So that'll be a later phase project. So I would think maybe at that time, if the township wanted to build some sort of steps into the water, that might be a good opportunity to do it then. But
And then removing any of those piers, like the pilings in the center.
yes.
Will there be some habitat improvement there for anadromous fish under that when they take them out? I mean, it seems like a good time to do some rock riffle or something like that in the river to replace what you took out of the river, instead of just being big holes or whatever there that's left. It might be an opportunity to work with a local stewardship group like Trout Unlimited or something like that to maybe do some habitat improvement for fish species.
I don't think that's something that we had looked into during this design phase. The plan is just to, and I don't have the plans in front of me to confirm, but I believe the plan was just to cut off the substructure, at stream depth or stream bed elevation or a little bit below, so that we are not creating big holes in the stream. So it should be minimal impact to the stream bed or to the water life. But I can confirm that and get back to Luann if you would like.
Yeah, that would be great if we had some type of, idea of they're going to keep those structures like at water level or high water or low water or whatever that water mark might be. There may be a way to incorporate some V structure off of those or whatever with a group for anadromous fish. But yeah, thank you for actually looking into that for me. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Luann?
Kelly, I have a question with regards to your permits you've obtained for the work, or you will be obtaining for the work in the floodplain and floodway. Would those permits extend? We do have our canoe landing in Ferguson Park that is not really accessible any longer. And if we wanted to do some work to make improvements on that, would your permit allow us to do that? Or is that even allowable? I just got to thinking about, as we want to make improvements and make that area more accessible and maybe do some stream bank stabilization in Ferguson Park as well. And could we work from your permit on that?
No, they would be completely separate.
Okay.
Just because our permit only allows us to do the work related to the bridge. But, it's, if you're going to do stream bank stabilization and some work with your boat launch, then the Eagle is pretty easy to work with. So, you should be able to get that pretty easily if you work with them. But
Okay.
If you have a design consultant working on that, they can do that for you.
Yeah, I figured as such, but I just thought it was worth the ask anyway.
Who is the Eagle consultant that you're working with? What's her name for this area?
Holly Vickers is the one that we work with.
Kelly?
Holly. Holly.
Oh, Holly Vickers.
Holly.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else for Kelly? Thank you so much, Kelly. We appreciate your
All right,
time.
thank you.
Yep. Okay, next on the agenda, something else with Ingham County Drain Office. There's a request to use WONCH Park for some river improvements. Luann, do we have somebody here with Ingham County, or are you going to present? Oh, you're on mute.
I am here.
Oh,
Hi, my name is Charles Smith. I'm a project manager with Spicer Group, and I'm representing the Ingham County Drain Commissioner's Office today. Before I start in presentations, do I have the ability to share screens with all attendees?
Yes, you do, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, logjam clearing began in 2013. I believe I am sharing a
We can
picture
see
of
it.
Patrick Lindeman. This is from the Eastgate logjam removal downstream of the WONCH Park location, but I just wanted to show this picture to illustrate the scale of some of the debris that's in the river. This looks like a large willow tree that was removed. That stands greater than 6 foot tall, so it just kind of give it dexterity. If we move upstream, I believe the photo is changing in front of us now.
oh, I think you stopped sharing.
Yeah. This photo here is just downstream of WONCH Park. This is a series of logs that have started to accumulate by Mandenberg Woods, which is a preserve that's managed by Meridian Township. And this has attracted the attention of many landowners along this reach of the river to initiate some of this clean out activity. If we go to a set of plans, I'm going to switch screens again. So the reach of interest in this project is from Nakoma Drive to Okemos Road. So along this dark blue line here. Again, Mandenberg Park is here, and Mandenberg Preserve is here, and the park is here, WONCH Park. We have some photos that I'd like to share along WONCH Park too. Go back. Apologize for a lot of different things going on here. So moving upstream to WONCH Park, the debris isn't significant, but there is a lot of deadfall that is migrating down the river with each flood event, reaching the larger severe log jam downstream. And log jams are associated with stream bank instability. They do provide habitat, and we recognize that. However, due to the severity of the log jam downstream, we'd like to initiate work under 196A of the Michigan Drain Code to improve the outlets of county drains along this reach. So we are here presenting this today to acquire access through WONCH Park via an access agreement between the Park Commission and the Ingham County Drain Commissioner's Office. I guess with the presentation being shown, are there any questions relating to the work that we're pursuing?
So you mentioned wildlife habitat. So I'm assuming it's kind of a balance between preventing flooding, unnatural flooding, and the natural wildlife habitat?
Correct.
Okay.
So the contractor that we will be utilizing low impact equipment. The work will be done during frozen conditions to minimize compaction of soils. we've been working on a similar project on a different water course within the county since 2018. We've been pretty happy with the results. So this will also return navigability to the water course. I know in the previous presentation there was some discussion of a new launch upstream. So
Great. Do we have any questions from any of the commissioners? Mary, is your hand up?
Sorry, no, I just had surgery on it, so it looks like it, but I did, the only question I'd had, and they had answered that, was on restoration of the property. And I see that that's been included in the agreement language, and I anticipate, Luann, that that's good with your staff.
I was thinking that this is probably worth a greater conversation right now with the drain office with regards to making not only restoration, but maybe improvements for easier access, because they're looking at, I believe most of the log jams are closer to the Manenberg Preserve, which this area is kind of between WONCH Park and then behind Playmakers, just to give you the visual about where all of this is. I think most of the log jams are down near the Manenberg Woods area. I believe they are interested in trying to utilize that space as well, although the grade change is dramatic from Hamilton Road down to the river. As far as an easier access point for their equipment, WONCH Park is extremely desirable for them. But then I believe they're also looking at removing all the logs from the WONCH Park area too at the end of our parking lot, which we know we just paved that here a couple years ago. But it would be an ideal location for a launch, even an informal launch area there along the stream bank. So maybe there's an opportunity here for us to discuss the improvements that could be made, not just restoring it to what it is, but maybe even restoring it a little bit more than that for easier access for kayaks and canoes. Just my thoughts. Charles, do you have any comment on that?
yes, you're correct. All the debris would have to be removed from the park. The park is within the floodplain. So part of the Eagle permitting that we're working on obtaining right now is to remove all the debris from the floodplain, so it doesn't have the risk of floating up and drifting back into the water or the floodway during the flood event.
Great. Mark?
Yeah, Charles, are there any ideas of utilizing those logs along the bank for like undercut banks for fish habitat, or like you did in a couple of places along the way where some of it wouldn't be removed? It would be stabilizing the bank somewhere along there and building out over the water a little bit. I don't know if there's been any thought on that. And then that's one question. And then the other question that I had, Luann, I sent this to you a little bit ago about improving, maybe working with the drain office on improving the access point in Ferguson Park, where we have a willow tree that is ready to go into the water. So some proactive maintenance on that, where we could actually stabilize that bank with some limestone slabs or something like that. I was working with Carol Valor a couple of years ago on trying to get that some steps leading down into the water for access for kids to get in the water. Of course, I'm always thinking of kids getting in and some access there, but then it's really eroding that giant willow tree that's right on the water, where there actually only is roots into the water at this point. But I thought maybe there would be a way to work with the drain office on that, you know, for being able to use the WONCH Park or Ferguson or whatever. Maybe we can, you know, scratch each other's backs in a way, help out a little bit. But anyway, yeah, I just some of those thoughts, Charles.
Initially, our main goal is to get the log jams out of the water course, but collaboration is probably more than welcome with the drain commission's commissioner's office. I will take these thoughts back to them and regroup, to see if we can collaborate with solutions to that willow tree upstream and maybe saving some of the wood for stabilization for future projects or part of this project.
This is a question to all the commissioners. Would there be an advantage for Mark to be kind of a liaison with the Drain Commission on some of these ideas? It seems like it almost would be maybe some future working meetings if the Drain Commission is open to these ideas.
Yeah, I would love to work with Pat on some of these things, yeah.
Okay, we could maybe put that in our motion as a recommendation to the Drain Commission later on in the meeting. Mary?
I just had another question. I was wondering, Charles, when you were looking to have this work done, can you remind me if it's in there already? And then when you needed the agreement signed?
So we are looking to have this work done under 196A. So the initial removal of obstructions January through March of this year. But we are also asking for the access agreement to be continue through when permitting would be no longer, which if we receive our permit in January of this year, which we're pushing for, will be 2025. So the access agreement that you have in front of you has, I believe, an August 2025 date. Any work between January and August 2025 would be intended to be completed during the winter months when we can minimize our impact to the stream bank.
Thank you. What were you anticipating might occur? If I heard that right, you were looking for the access agreement to continue through 2025. Is that correct?
Correct. And part of the agreement is we'd have to re-notify you if we wanted to reobtain access between now and then.
And what type of work were you planning to do after 2021? Is it similar work or different work?
Per the agreement, it's just if additional logs were to fall into the river or float into the river from the floodplain shelves during flood events, it would be just for continuous removal of debris from the river.
Okay. And quickly back to restoration, as Leanne said, if that's newer paving over there, is part of the restoration, if there's a significant damage or damage to the paving that's occurred, would repaving be part of the restoration?
The belief, the way the agreement is written, that the contractor is liable for the restoration. So, we would try to minimize impact, and part of that agreement could be to keep the contractor completely off that lot if it made the township feel better about moving forward with this work.
Okay, thank you, Charles.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Luann?
I just have one comment, is that I'm so happy that we have Kelly and Charles on together. And as we look at two of our parks that have access to the Red Cedar River, and if we can somehow all collaborate on making all of this come together and work together, I think is amazing. And if we can help with providing better access for our residents through this, as well as making the Red Cedar more navigable, which is another benefit that we'll get from this. And then also our under the bridge walkway. And then if, like I said, we have that canoe landing that definitely needs some work, but if we could provide some type of access for our residents and stream bank stabilization somehow through all of this working together, I think it's just a huge benefit to everybody in the community, as well as to the road department and to the drain office. So it could be a triple win.
Okay. Well, thank you, Charles and Kelly again.
Thank you for having us here today.
Yes.
One thing I would like to add is I did send out a request to Carla Close, who was unable to join us, from the drain office today, as well as Charles, about actually having to take action today with their request. I said, typically we like to talk about it 1 month and then act on it the next, so we can take a look at these issues. They would prefer action today if possible. But if you have too many questions or concerns about anything, we can hold off or hold a special meeting sometime once those questions are answered. So it's really up to you. I know they really want to get started in January, and so they've been on a fast track for this. So really, it's up to you when we get to the action portion, if you're interested in moving forward, or if you have additional questions that you can think of between now and by the time we get to the action.
Luann, if the action item doesn't occur till January 15th, that is fine. After reviewing with the Drain Commissioner's office, it won't impact our schedule that significantly. So I know everyone would probably like to review the jams themselves, the log jams themselves, and any public comment that may be had.
And one more question, how many log jams are there that you'll be addressing, at least with this first round of work?
There are 2 significant log jams, and there's several locations of just debris that is starting to migrate downstream. That's again, that smaller debris that hasn't completely spanned the river is mainly along WONCH Park at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the next agenda item, which is public comments. Correct me if I am wrong, but I don't think there's anybody else that's joined the meeting.
There's no one who's joined the meeting, but of course this is publicized and broadcast on home TV. So if anyone wanted to make public comment via telephone, we can accept calls at 517-349-1232. And we have 2 connections for Charles R. Smith. But if that's not Charles, if that's another link confusion and somebody wanted to make a public comment, they can use the raise hand feature if they care to do that in the attendee area. Otherwise, we'll pause for about 10 or 15 seconds additionally and wait for a call to come in the event that someone wants to make a public comment via that 517-349-1232.
Thank you, Stephen.
Yes, technology is great.
Yeah, and we're hearing no phones ringing, so please proceed.
Okay. Approval of minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review the October 13th, 2020 minutes? If so, do we have a motion to approve the minutes as written? Looks like Commissioner McDonald is okay, giving or setting a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second, Amy.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Everyone,
Signify by saying
okay,
aye.
sorry, I lost my train of thought. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Okay.
the
Aye.
minutes move forward.
Yep, looks like we did. Oh, yes, it's approved.
Okay, and then the next 2 agenda items are communications and director's report. In the interest of time, I was going to suggest that commissioners just read through these, the report that Luann provided, if they haven't already on their own time, unless of course, Luann, you want to highlight anything in here in particular.
No, just a couple of things. I wasn't sure I sent you my staff report, but I'll run through them here real quick. So at your last meeting, there was a request from the Meridian Township Fire Department to add a warning siren at Marshall Park, and that has been installed. Overflow parking lot at Towner Road Park, which is identified over by the pickleball courts. We have paved that utilizing asphalt millings from the road work that's been going on in the township, and that's been completed. The driveway into Leg Park, that long driveway, we've also paved that with asphalt millings, so it does provide a firm and stable surface, but it's still pervious. And so that has been completed all in-house with our own township park staff. We were successful with the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grant application for the acquisition of property on Okemos Road. So now we'll wait for the legislature to release those funds, which will not happen until, as you all know on this call, probably not until April or May, I'm guessing, at the earliest. And the projects at the Harris Nature Center, the pavilion and the restroom building are completed. The seat wall at the pavilion is probably the most beautiful seat wall I've ever seen. You need to go out and take a look at that. The restroom and gateway footbridge in Central Park has been completed. The Central Meridian Regional Trail Connector project through Central Park, which is paved trail and fishing overlook into the pond at Central Park South, as well as a boardwalk through wetland areas, is about 50% complete. They'll continue to work on that through the winter and finish up in the spring. The dog park, we have 160 members in our large dog park, and 280 small dog permits have been sold for the small dog park. We were just recently notified that we have been awarded the design award through M Parks for Marketplace on the Green. So we'll have some type of ceremony virtually coming up here, probably in January or February. And update on our deer management program is so far to date, 149 deer. Last year was, I believe, 88 total. So we still have the rest of this month to go, and then we'll have an extended hunt with our police department coming up in January and February. So that is my report for December.
That is quite a report. Lots of good things happening. Commissioner Stevens?
Yeah, I just have one suggestion about the new property. There is that absolutely gorgeous, I don't know what we're gonna do with the house or whatever. Is that part of the whole thing? The house, I can't remember whether or not the house was part of it or they cut
Yes,
that out.
it is.
It is? Well, the only suggestion is that that beautiful rhododendron that's probably 100 years old that's there. If we can save that somehow, you know, make it as part of a entranceway or something, that's all I suggest.
That's
all.
very doable.
Yeah.
Very
I
doable.
echo that. That would be cool.
That's probably the largest rhododendron I know of in this area.
I like that idea a lot, to incorporate it into the new project, which would make it even more special than moving it to another public area. Commissioner McDonald?
First, I completely agree with Mark. I'm not familiar with the rhododendron, though. Jane's office, I think, probably looks out on the property, and I'm sure it's going to be a fine thing to keep that. And Jane is here if you had any detailed questions, but in terms of the house, Mark, I'm just speculating as a non-professional here of real estate appraisals. My guesstimate is the house has actually got a negative value.
Right.
And Jane just said sort of in my ear that it does.
Negative
So
value.
the house will come with it and it will not add anything to the fair market value. It, in a sense, would actually have it be lower. Jane, do you want to whisper in my ear again if we're going to demolish the house pretty soon? She used the word horrid condition, the house.
Yeah.
Poor.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
at this point.
I don't hear so well. Poor.
We're just
Poorly
going to be
horrid.
acquiring the property now, and then it'll be up to the Park Commission to determine our next steps.
Sure.
Look forward to helping with the planning on that. Commissioner Ferris?
Having problem being one-handed today, so apologize. I just had a quick question on demolition, if our fire department ever uses those for burn exercises.
And that's an excellent question. I have been contacted by our fire chief, and they are planning to utilize that structure for training.
Okay, thanks.
Wow.
Lynn.
Great.
Okay,
Save
again,
the
in the
road.
interest-
Have we told Jane that, Lou? That she will look out her window and see this gigantic fire in a year or two?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's a controlled burn, but it's some type of training that will take place. We do need to accept and place on file the communications that include the deer management program update and the Meridian Conservation Corps quarterly newsletter.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Mary, okay, thank you.
Okay, again, in the interest of time, because I know there's two commissioners that need to be done by 1 o'clock for other work commitments. Did we want to, I guess first we can discuss the sidewalk repaving at Ferguson Park and discuss whether or not we want to move ahead of formal recommendation.
I apologize for not preparing a motion for that, but we could create one to recommend sending a letter of approval for the sidewalk improvements in Ferguson Park as related to the Okemos Road bridge replacement, and that this work will not have adverse effects to the park in any way.
I would move for that.
I will second that.
Okay.
Everybody in favor, say aye.
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 Recommendation moves forward. Next on the agenda is the log jam removal behind WONCH Park and farther down the river. This one seemed like maybe we wanted a little bit more discussion. I don't know what you guys think about. In my mind, I think it'd be nice to have Commissioner Stevens or anyone else that's interested be a liaison with the Drain Commission to discuss some of those great ideas on wildlife habitat and kind of expanding recreation opportunities as well. Commissioner Ferris?
That was my thought, is that based on our questions and discussion, that it would be worthwhile to have at least Mark have that conversation in advance of signing off on the agreement to see what opportunities there might be for access and habitat. I realize the project is pretty much underway, but sounded like it was worth some discussion.
Yeah, I wrote down that they had until they could extend, or it would be okay through if we got that back to them by January 15th, and it looks like our meeting is on January 12th, so the timing would work well without a special meeting. Of course, we could always have a special meeting as well.
Amy, this is Amanda. Maybe we could propose a work session for that, like either before or shortening the televised meeting or the meeting time a little bit, but then have a working session beforehand that focuses on this discussion.
On January 12th?
Yes.
Okay.
That sounds good to me. Yeah.
Commissioner McDonald?
To summarize, I don't think we should pass a motion today.
Okay. So,
Luann
go
has-
ahead.
Oh, I think the flavor, just to let Charles Smith know, I think the flavor is where we're supportive of the logjam removal and the benefits that it will have. We just really need to look at some of the details that we have an interest in, making sure we get that included in whatever agreement moves forward. I guess this kind of lets the drain office know that we've always had very great relationships with them. They've always done very good projects and been good. We've had a good relationship with the township and the drain office. But we do want to make sure, it's not, I don't think we're opposed to this request. It's just that there's just a few details that we want to talk about first.
Yeah, I would thank you, Luann. I was going to suggest that we're not at all opposed to what they're wanting to do in this. It's just, how can we improve it? How can we, understand more about it and maybe work cooperatively for
Right.
betterment of the whole project. And I know Pat's very much, up to that. And so, yeah, definitely if we can do that and just give him the assured, I was even going to suggest maybe we move with, the ideas of planning with the drain, department, but then we can wait till the 12th as long as they're not under any pressure.
I think we would need a formal motion to table this request until the January 12th meeting.
Next question, if we needed that. Do we have somebody that would like to make the motion to table this agenda item until the January 12th meeting?
I would move to do that. Yeah.
Okay, do we have a second?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald. Everyone in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, the next agenda item is commission meeting schedule. I realize now, I don't know, or I can't seem to find the commission schedule, although I'm sure it's fine. Was that included in one of the packets and I'm just not seeing it?
It should have been, I'm not seeing it either. I was just looking through my information and I don't see it. And I apologize for that. And I think based on our time constraints, we can look at adopting that in January.
Okay.
Our meeting is our next regularly scheduled meeting would be on Tuesday, January 12th. I'm guessing with the state of COVID at this point, it would be a Zoom meeting. I'm not sure if we still want to continue to meet during the day or we could meet in the evening on Tuesday. And maybe that's just one meeting that we need to clarify right now. And then the rest of the year we can handle when we meet on the 12th.
I'd be good with that, Luann, as long as we can set a time would be helpful for me just to lock it into my calendar.
Commissioner Stevens?
So, well, I know that it might be easier for Charles and Kelly or whoever that we need to have on this to have a daytime meeting instead of a nighttime meeting, but I guess with being at home and with your computer, that doesn't matter either, but I don't know what would be best for them. But I don't have a problem with a daytime meeting.
I'm good also, regardless.
I kind of prefer an evening meeting, but I can make daytime work. I thought this was a great idea, but then things happen, having a full-time job, and it's hard to get out of my other meetings. So I'm flexible either way. If I had to vote, I would vote for evening meetings, but because I have a few more hours to dedicate that way. I don't know, Amanda, you're in a similar situation.
Yeah, I can usually be pretty flexible myself as long as I'm not coming down with a migraine like today. So,
Okay.
so yeah,
have
I
a-
usually, but you know, if we do tack on a working session, a 1 hour Zoom isn't going to be enough.
Right. That's what I was thinking too.
That's a good point.
Okay.
Maybe
Well,
we
Should we meet at 5:30 for a work session and then 6:30 for regular meeting? Would that be okay?
that would work for me.
Could we push it? Amy, are you able to start at 4:30 by chance?
Yeah. I could start at 4:30, yeah.
Because maybe that gets into the end of the day for Charles and Kelly, so they can still count it as work time and it's not cutting into the evening too much. Then we could start the regular meeting. at
Even
5:30.
4 would be better because my meetings are usually over by 4.
Okay.
You give me
I
the
like
thumbs
4
up, Mary?
myself. Yeah.
Okay.
One good hand.
I'm starting to learn your one-handed body language here.
Okay.
Did we
4
want
for
to
working
then,
session and then 5 for a regular meeting? Is that what you're thinking?
yeah, 4 and 5.
Okay.
Should we also then move the election of officers to the January 12th meeting as well?
We can.
Okay. We have liaison to Land Preservation Advisory Board.
And that can shift to that meeting on the 12th as
Okay.
well.
Okay. Do we have any other discussion items from the commissioners or from Luann?
Yeah, I just think we need to vote on the January 12th, 4 o'clock work session, 5 o'clock regular.
Is there a motion to hold our next meeting on January 12th at 4 o'clock?
I motion that we hold our next commission meeting on January 12th at 4 o'clock. And that would be a work session in advance of the regular meeting
At 5 o'clock, correct?
at 5 o'clock.
And Mike seconded. Okay.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Any discussion or items from the commissioners? Or Luann, for that matter?
No, I just wish everyone a happy holiday season. Stay safe. And we did it. We did it in an hour.
And thank you, Commissioner Van Antwerp, Vice Chair, for running today's meeting.
Oh yeah, it was my first time at it. Sorry, I couldn't remember the language there
You did
in
a
one of
great
the.
job.
That's a great job.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, so just officially to close out the meeting, it doesn't look like we have public here for comments.
I think we need to ask first.
Okay, we should ask. Do you want to open up the phone line or repeat that again?
Sure, the telephone number is 517-349-1232, and we can wait just a second. There is no longer anyone other than the captioner in the attendee area. So one last time, that telephone number, 517-349-1232, and we'll pause for just a few seconds to allow people to call in.
While we're waiting, I do want to thank Meridian Township and the communications department for hosting the meeting. This is great. It almost makes our meetings seem more accessible than when we're in person because people can do it from the comfort of their home or their car. So thank you very much.
We're happy to do whatever we can, and we would agree with you. We see more regular participants in a lot of the meetings than when we were doing them in person in the township hall room. And there are no telephone calls coming in, so you're free to take over for your meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so do we want to then adjourn since we don't have any commissioner comments, and we'll have much more time on January 12th to discuss some things in depth.
So moved.
Give a second.
Second.
Second, okay. Well, the meeting ends at 12:58 with a record, possibly, at least since I've been on the commission.
All right, bye, guys. Thanks.
right.
All right, have a
Bye.
great
Take
day.
care.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Bye.